Cheers, everybody. Hello. Coffee number 2. Well, that's not true, because I only drank half my coffee number 1, so it's 1.5. Coffee 1.5.
Alan Madsen says hello to all.
Hello to all. Wow, I've forgotten how to stream, I think. So I've got all the lights on today. Normally I have only some of the lights on, but I've got all the lights on today. So it might look a bit different. It'll look like daylight, even though it's dark outside still. How is everyone doing? I missed you all last week, and yes, couldn't find out. That's the same coffee glasses I always use. No, I couldn't find a large one. I would often walk into a cafe and say, can I just have a bucket of coffee? Sion said, let there be light, and everyone ignored him. So, yeah, that's what would happen. Pint glass would work. Yeah, that's way smaller than a pint glass. Pint glass is much bigger. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how big it is. Maybe 500 mils? Who knows? I don't know. All I know is never enough coffee. It's the only thing that's keeping me going at the moment. So, did everyone have a good last couple of weeks? Just a quick update. We're COVID clear in the house again. I did not get COVID this time round. I don't understand how I didn't. My daughter, Orly, did. She was the start, and then Yaz was sick the whole time, but she never tested positive, which was really weird. We isolated my son, Flynn, for a few days and then sent him off to school camp, so he was away. So he didn't get it either. So we ended up with only one person with COVID in the house, which I don't understand how it doesn't spread. I mean, we isolated her as much as we could. It was pretty funny, actually. Anytime she came out into the main area of the house, we made her wear a mask, poor girl. But we just didn't want my son to get sick before school camp. So it was his first school camp for high school. Anyway, my immune system is very muscular. What does that mean, Dishipu? Hello, Dishipu. What is it? Very strong. My immune system's terrible. That's why I thought I was going to get it. And as I said, Yaz was sick the whole time, but she didn't ever test positive. So that was really weird. But anyway, back at it. I have some goodies to show. Some things I've bought. Before we do that, let's say hi to folks in the chat. I have to remember how this all works, as in the streaming thing. Feels like forever. Alan, good morning. Tetra 3D Print, hello. Antonio, hi. Mr. England, hello. Chipu, Christian, Steve, SDG Electronics. Hey, did you ever get an updated firmware? I still have not got any updated firmware from them. Very disappointed from MiniWare, whatever they're called. Yeah, we'll get into that in a moment. Graham, good morning. Hello. Peter, good morning. Just say hi to Alan Madston. Can't remember. Hello, Alan. Embedded Hobbyist, hi. Michael, hello. Johnny, Life in Cycling, Moo. John Clayton, hello, John. Patrick, hi. Sean Modo. Whenever I see your name, I think of Modo, as in the software Modo, the 3D animation modeling software, which I used to use. I still have a license somewhere. Anyway, how's that for a tangent? David Dessa, hello. Loki, hi. I've lost my list. Gonna go backwards now. Ian, hello Ian. How you doing? Oh, I think I've got everyone. Okay. That could be everyone. No, nothing from anywhere, but I accidentally forgot about the thing. Need to do the video this week. So, what's interesting is I pushed them and said, where's the firmware? Nothing, right? They came back to me, and then I also complained about how slow it heats up. Mine takes forever to get to temperature, like twice as slow as my original, the 30. And so they tried, pointing the finger at me that it was, it's my power supply, it's my cable. I said, well, firstly, it's the power supply from the 30, which should be rated fine. and it was only giving me 17 volts when it's supposed to be 21 volts. So I went out and bought a GAN. Hang on, I'll show you. Let me grab it. So I went out and actually bought quite an expensive GAN 120 watt supply. And I bought an expensive 100 watt certified USB cable. USB-C cable is what it uses for power. And I'm now only getting 19 volts out of it. And I should be getting 21 or 21 plus volts I should be getting. And it doesn't stay at 19, it jumps between 17 and 19. So it's absolutely not the power supply. Let me tell you, this thing is heavy. This is like it's actually really cool. It's my first GAN one I've got. It's not the cable, because I used the cable. I tried the cable that came with this, which is supposed to be 120 watt certified, but I doubt it. And I tried the other one I bought, which was like a $60 cable. Might have got ripped off, who knows. And I tried the one that comes with the 30, and none of them will give me more than 19 volts. So there's something wrong with my unit, I think, or it's just the firmware. So let me plug it back in before I forget. I mean, the USB cable, it's a really thick braided, heavy cable. So I don't know. Hey, Yumbo Prime. I shall call him Gandalf. The Gandalf. Yeah. So, hey Adam, I'm pretty sure mine showed up. There's more than 20 or more. I got a U-Green 300 watt. 300 watt? You got it as a mispriced item. Wow, okay, I didn't need it. Like, I don't need anything. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing how long it takes. So mine's still, even with your beta firmware, it's still reflowing at 200 degrees. Like, between 200 and 205 degrees, my SAC 305 is already completely molten, which is totally wrong. Totally wrong. So, yeah, the beta firmware didn't really change that for me. Anyway, I'm using it because I've worked out what my temperature ranges I need to be, and I've programmed it to be, to not overheat and whatever. But it's frustrating because it's not a cheap unit, and there's just support is terrible. I'm quite surprised, actually. Hello, Gur364. Am I using Arduino or ESP IDF? I'm using, well, I do a bit of Arduino still for just general stuff, but the TinyWATCH project is in Platform IO, which is technically Arduino, but it's not. It's using the Arduino backend, like as in the ESP32 Arduino core and stuff, but it's all in Platform IO. Anchor 45 watt plus 45 max. Sitting on my desk, useful for having a bit of reliable power. Yeah, I never thought about using like a GAN or a higher wattage supply for just USB. Nothing I do needs it. Like all my stuff I work on is 5 volts. So, hey Sid, how you doing? Well, there is a DC jack on the back, but no details that nothing that came with it I could find that mentions what it needs to plug in. Hey Martin. So, yeah, I haven't gone down that route. I'm assuming that I can power it from the DC jack, but it doesn't even say if it's sent positive or not, and it doesn't give any information. I'm assuming maybe it's a 24 volt one. I don't know. Again, as I said, a bit disappointing considering the quality and reliability of the 30 was really good. It was just too small. And I'm not sure this thing heats up perfectly evenly across the whole plate. It's definitely hotter in the middle than it is on the corners, which, yeah, anyway, whatever. Let's move on, because I do want to talk TinyWATCH today, and I do have a PCB to maybe build. I'll explain why. I mean, I'm happy to build it, but it may not work. Long story. I'll get there. I will get there. Stay tuned. But I want to show you a couple of things that I bought. Firstly, I've not tried this yet. I was curious. It was really cheap. I saw it very cheap, and I asked for an Australian power supply, Australian plug, because that was an option, and they gave me an Australian plug, and it's attached. Anyway, so my solder sucker, my powered one, died ages ago. Long story. Anyway, I'm not going to go through it. And I do have my manual solder sucker, you know, where you click it down and you flick a button, whatever. But sometimes it's too hard to get into the right spot with it, and especially with an iron tip and whatever. And I found this on Ali. I wasn't even looking at it. You know what? I was actually looking at soldering irons for downstairs. I'm finally making space to put an inspection rework desk downstairs, so I don't have to bring stuff upstairs all the time to look under the microscope. And so I was looking at just getting a cheap JBC compatible iron for downstairs, like the stuff that Steve shows on his channel, because I don't want to spend, you know, another $2,000 on soldering irons for downstairs. But I like the tips and the size, and all that Chinese stuff looks pretty cool now. Definitely good enough for the rare times that I actually need to actually rework it these days, which is pretty cool. Hey, Christopher. My solder sucker was a Dyson. I've got a Dyson in there, an old Dyson. Anyway, so I saw this, and so what this is a powered, it's a heated manual solder sucker. So you still do the manual bit, but it's heated like an iron, so it's all in one. So you don't have to try to wedge the solder sucker and an iron at the same time and use both hands. I didn't realize how big it was. That is huge. It looked in the pictures like it was much smaller, right? They had no banana for scale. Not be able to buy a new soldering iron, SG has them all sent to his workshop. I know. I was looking for some, and all the ones that he shows on his channel, they're all out of stock. No, they're not really. There's too much choice though. I almost bought one, then I almost bought another one, then I almost bought another one. Do I want a dual? Do I want a single? Oh my God, it was so hard. Then I went back and started looking at Steve's videos again, all his reviews, and honestly, too many to choose from. Way too many. Hey Stephen, I put it in like that, but it's 6 centimeters in diameter. It's huge. Okay, now this is smaller. Anyway, I haven't tried it because obviously this pisses me off. I'm going to cut it and put a different connector on. And yeah, I did message the company and say, hey, you offered an Australian plug. That's what I ordered. Why'd you send this? And of course, you know, it's been a week and a half, no reply. Anyway, that's cool. I'm interested to check it out. I don't know how good it's going to be, but using a TensorFlow to do optical inspection with an ESP32 cam. I'm currently training the algorithm. Hey, UK Systems. Way not fast enough, the ESP32 to do that, even with a TensorFlow model. And it can't really support cameras that are high res enough, or fast enough. Can't get the throughput fast enough. Yeah, not for optical inspection. There's way better options out there than trying to do it through a microcontroller. It's quite a neat design, actually. How come no one came up with it earlier? I don't know. I thought it was really clever, actually. I honestly thought, wow, like that solves the problem of, I mean, it's still going to have the potential issue where it gets clogged inside, but where mine used to get clogged, and no matter how many, I had people telling me that I was doing it wrong and whatever, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, with the fully ones with the triggers, right, the fully automatic, not automatic, you know what I mean, the all-in-one, the non-manual plunger ones, you know, you hit it and you suck and you keep sucking and you pull away and you keep sucking until it's all come through. Like it's when you let go of the trigger too early, you get solid solder in that shaft, and then that's it, right? It's really hard to get out again. I think this is going to have a similar problem, possibly, except you have to keep sucking, right? You got to, if it hasn't pulled it through properly, that could be a problem. But you can pull it apart and you can get to both ends, and I'm hoping that will be enough to be able to, like I couldn't pull mine apart without breaking it, and eventually I just couldn't clean it anymore. So I thought this was really cool. Yeah, it will, and the tip can be changed as well, and it comes with a different tip. They're just different size tips. Yeah, there's a tip in here. But they're all pretty. Ooh, they're pretty chunky. For my use, they're way too. Like I can't get that into the space of the stuff that I normally use it for, and I very rarely need to use a solder sucker of any description, which is why I never replaced my other one. Okay, next thing I bought, not even opened yet. This is exciting. For me, it's exciting because it's a means to an end. And you're going to ask me what this is. I hope there's a name inside it because I can never remember what it's called. There we go. I bought the VLMP kit. Do you all know what the VLMP kit is? It's got extrusion, and it's got all sorts of bits and pieces, and I think they're 3D parts and whatever. Does anyone know what this is? A very large mud pie. No, it's not a very large mud pie. Let me, VLMP. Oh, if I can get, this is also where I got it from. Where do I get to? Oh, of course, it's not captured my thing again. Bloody OBS. Okay, it is a heat press, heat set insert press. It's pretty cool. It's an open source project, and I'll put, this is the Australian link. It's by a guy in the UK. Oh Jesus, I don't need all of that. Hang on. Hopefully that link will work. This is just from the Aussie supplier where I bought it. It's an open source kit. It's a weighted heat press thing that you use with like a Hakko iron, which I've got. And you, it's just for getting perfect heat press inserts done, totally vertically. Very hard to get them aligned. I use heatset inserts for my bling cases, and getting 4 of them perfectly aligned for the screws to go in straight is actually quite difficult. More difficult than I thought it would be doing it manually by hand. But that's not why I got this, because I've been suffering through that. I got this because I also ordered one of these, and this is the exciting bit. I ordered a Millennium Machines Milo mill kit. Is that really not going to let me just go to the, let me go to the GitHub link. So this is an open source mill. GitHub.com Millennium Machines. Right. So I finally bought, it's a kit, I have to build it, but it's a mill. That's the link to it. And it's open source and it's heavily community driven, which is amazing. I bought stuff from that guy in the UK, the guy that made the heat press insert thing. It's very cool. I know I could have probably designed something myself, but what for? And I could have bought the cheaper version and 3D printed all the stuff myself, but I couldn't be bothered. I don't know anything about the Proxon mill. You're talking about the mini mill? Too small. I mean, this is, they call this a mini mill, but this is considerably bigger than a mini mill. And this is like chunky, and it's got some 3D parts on it, 3D printed parts for sure, but the kit I got has a lot of that stuff is aluminium, like it's not 3D printed, and there is still some 3D printed stuff, but the idea is that you assemble it, you build it, and some of the first things you can cut is aluminium to replace any of the 3D stuff that you think isn't structurally right, whatever. It's 3D printer calibration stuff and some LED lights for 3D printers. Okay, cool. So I'm really excited about this because I've wanted a CNC for ages, so there's some video of it running. This thing chews aluminium, no problem. There are people that have been cutting mild steel with it. It's quite a big job to build. I mean, there's a lot of streams at the moment. Like I'm not going to get this for like six to 8 weeks, unfortunately. Anyway, shows it up at 28 volts here. It gets to in 1 minute 30. Okay, mine shows 19 and it takes like 3 minutes to get to 200. Hey, Dave Paul Jones. So there's something wrong with mine, clearly. But they won't even get back to me. So, if you make a video where you show how you designed, calculated the matching network and traces for your boards. I don't know. Not really sure. It's for, I don't know. I've been asked it a lot, Z-Kite, but how you do it is a known thing. It requires a VNA, and if you don't have a VNA, there's nothing I can show you that is going to allow you to do it. Like, it's all about, like, when you say how do you calculate it, you calculate it on a VNA. So the requests I get from people on how you do it are people looking for ways to do it without investing. And if you're not going to invest in a VNA to do it, then you're not going to do it. You're not going to get it done. What happened to my VNA? I use my VNA, and it's still got, they fixed one of the bugs a year later, It's still got one of the bugs, the one where it won't zero the open where it's supposed to. It still jumps around, so I can't use any of the auto calibration stuff on it. But over time, I've worked out, like I've got post-it notes all over it, and I've worked out, I've got a whole bunch of different pigtails, and each pigtail is numbered, and I've got post-it notes that have the correct extension settings for each pigtail that I've painstakingly calculated and corroborated across different boards. And so as long as I don't use any of the auto settings, I can use the VNA. But I mean, that has taken me now, like, I don't know how many boards, 30, 40 boards of different, like, you know, not unique boards, but to get the calibration right, to be 100% confident that when I pick up a pigtail and I stick it on a board and I plug it in, I know I've got all my settings correct, that what I'm measuring is correct. Because if the settings aren't correct, you have no idea. You'll still get what looks like completely valid results. And you can match a perfect 2.45 gigahertz at, you know, minus 20 dB on the VNA, right? And then put those components on your board and it doesn't work at all. Just because it shows you a perfect match on the VNA, it's always going to show you a perfect match, but it could be completely off center based on the pigtail, based on the measurements, right? So anyway, I'm using it because I couldn't afford to replace it, and they wouldn't take it back, and they wouldn't refund me, they wouldn't fix it. They still haven't fixed that bug. But yeah. The VNA saga. I just don't talk about it anymore. So, does that make sense, Steve? I hope it makes sense. I milled 7mm aluminium on a 60. It took 50 passes though, no rush. That's the Siglent, the 7.5 gigahertz. The SVA 1075. Sounds like a Dune saga. Hi Eric, by the way. Hi Frodo, Chromax. Hello. Anyone else I haven't said hi to? Don't know. Anyway, I'm over the whole VNA thing. Like every time I need to use it, I kind of dread it because I know that if I'm not careful, I'll pick up the wrong pigtail or mix them up. I'll get the setting wrong, and then I'll spend, you know, an hour, 2 hours matching and have no results that work. So that's really frustrating. Anyway, quickly back to the mill. I'm excited to get it. I don't need a huge cutting area, but I wanted height. And the version I'm getting can do, it's got 120 millimeter clearance, which is really good. I didn't want to get a small desktop CNC because I wouldn't have got any height with it. I didn't want a router version, like I want to cut metal, predominantly metal, or as in aluminium. And the smaller units don't give me a great cutting area anyway. This gives me a pretty decent cutting area, so I'm sticking to my Nano VNA until I have some money saved up. Nano VNA is fine. If you're only doing 2.4 gigahertz, you just need repeatable results. The Nano VNAs are okay. Nothing wrong with it. You don't need a super expensive VNA. I've got this because I needed to go to 7.5 gigahertz because the S3's got harmonics issues. And so I can't tell if I've eliminated harmonics unless I can measure secondary and, second and third harmonics, which means I need to be able to measure 4.8 and 7.5, 7.2, 7 point whatever it is. Anyway, so that's why I've got that unit, but it was a lot of money and regrets. Anyway, so I've ordered that, which is pretty cool. And so this has a lot of heated inserts, a lot. 60 or 70 or something. So I figured if I was going to do that, I might as well, I want something that can you imagine if I put this together and I got some of the inserts not straight and things weren't quite level and, oh my God, whatever. Do you, having tooling from the mill, does it come? Chucks and collets. I think it comes, it doesn't come with any bits. It does come with the collet. I don't know which one. I'd have to look at the LDO kit. So they've not actually announced what's in there. So this is for the batch 2. And batch 2, the original people got batch 0, which was the beta version of it. This is the 1.5 version. Milo 1's been out for ages. Milo 1.5. Batch 1, people have been building on their streams in the last 2 or 3 weeks. They've been getting their batch 1 kits. Batch 2, they keep refining it, and every time they keep refining things, they have a new batch. So anyway, a Wanley CNC, what if I get it all wobbly. Anyway, I've got that coming, which is pretty cool. I've also got something else coming on the way, which is totally not a CNC mill, but I'm not going to talk about that yet. I'll wait till it gets here and I have time. I don't want to show it until I know I've got time to work on it. Wood is around the same. It doesn't take so much and quite easy to embed. Yeah, yeah. You know what? For what I'm spending on this, which is not expensive, let me tell you, this is also a very cheap mill, but I got to build it. Anyway, it's pretty cool. One of the things I like about this though is one of the things that they've got. So all the electronics is in here at the bottom, but you don't have to do that. They've got a enclosure design as well. And although their enclosure is their version 2 enclosure is not public yet, they're about to release it in the next week or two. Like repositories, what am I doing? What's really cool about their enclosure is they designed it, hang on, the cassette enclosure, they designed it to take all the electronics. So that's an example of their version 1. And what they've done is, so you don't, if you build this, and again, it's fully open source, if you build this, you, which I'm going to do, I'm going to build the version 2 one because I don't want chips everywhere, right? Then all the electronics can be mounted in here, not inside the unit. So you don't have to, so you just have one sheath of wiring going out to electronics, and it's much neater. And yeah, so, oh, there you go. There's a picture of it all there. So it's pretty cool. It's a really nice project, and the community is great. And yeah, I'm excited to get to first.
Chat has disconnected.
Okay. Get to first chips at some point. I don't know when I'm going to build it, how long it's going to take, and as I said, it might be 6 or 7 weeks before I get it. Okay, let's get back to, let's talk TinyWatch. Let's talk TinyWatch. Should we do that? Because that's what everyone came here for, right? Happy to answer any questions about the... No, I didn't want to buy a kit. I absolutely did not want to buy a kit, to be clear. I wanted to buy a mill that just I could plug in and it works and I can start learning on, right? I have no expectations that it's not going to destroy me to learn how to use it. I'm going to make a mess. There's going to be whatever. It's
Alan Madsen says what controller is used, can't find any info about it.
Someone mentioned what it was the other day. Don't know. You need to go to the LDO Motors webpage. Hey, John. How you doing? Hey, Luminator. Yeah, I can't remember the name of it. I was watching a stream the other day and someone mentioned it, but yeah, you'll need to yeah, you need to go to LDO Motors to find out what they're shipping with it. Also, the community are doing some really interesting things. There's a Discord channel for the community. Let me just quickly. I know I'm sidetracked. It's pretty exciting though. Like for me, it's exciting because I wanted a mill for ages. So on their Discord server, there's stacks of people that are doing mods and all sorts of stuff, right? And one of the guys, so there's one guy who's writing a complete, like a complete control app, which is insane. But hang on, I'm trying to find. Oh yeah, there are people making PCBs out of it, and oh, Millennium OS. That's right. There's some people working on Millennium OS, which is one of the things they're supporting is this multi-direction 3D touch probe for doing. Yeah, mills are great for cutting all sorts of stuff. Anyway, he's got this video. Hang on. He's showing here how he's got this plastic tub. Look, I wish he'd stop moving so quickly. But basically, he's going around and measuring. Okay, I know that was really quick and maybe hard to see. But he's written all the software and how to interface this probe. So the unit comes with like a touch probe for height, and you can do your normal, you know, X and a Z, whatever. But sorry, X and a Y. But this thing can do pretty much any direction, anywhere. It's really cool. And so he's written all support for it. Here's some screenshots of his stuff. Right, he's building this whole big interface stuff for it. Kind of like what you would expect on the really expensive machines. So like you can get like a touch panel that can sit on the case that you can fully control everything from. Anyway, it's just really cool. Like, the community are really full on board with this thing. So yeah. And like one of the add-ons I got is the full metal jacket stuff where it puts the whole Z height out of metal rather than 3D printed bits. So that all comes with my kit and a full metal base plate and stuff. So, your display's died. What? How good is KiCad on Apple compared to Windows? Are there any differences? No, KiCad's great. You need to be using, if you're using 8, you need to be using the test builds. 8.0 itself has got quite a few bugs, especially on the Mac. But they've got test builds in, it's like they're nightlies, but don't use the nightlies because they are now 8.99, so they're 9.0 nightlies, which are not backward, they won't be backward compatible at some point. Hey, Wagon Loads, I don't know if that change has already been made yet, but that's where they break backward compatibility. But they have what they call now test builds, which are 8.0 builds that you can grab And so they do nightly 8.0 builds until all the things that are going to go into 8.01 are in those test builds, and stacks of bugs have been fixed already. So, okay, let's get to, let's do this. Come on, let's have a look at, so there's lots of work that's been happening to the firmware on TinyWatch, and there are a few contributors, which is really cool. So it means that I'm not doing all of the work myself. Yay! And some of the really cool work's being done by other people, which is yay. Let me just. So I've had 23 PRs so far, which is nice. And they don't include anything that I've been putting in. I have Linux Fedora, and I have not seen a KiCad update yet. What do you mean? Well, you got to grab KiCad from the KiCad folks. Don't wait for it to come in a package manager. And then you're relying on the Fedora people. Jeez. So 23 PRs, which is really cool. So Update Isolated, which is Pro Engineer, which is Matt, who may be in the chat, but I haven't seen him this morning. He might be sleeping. He's been putting a lot of stuff in. Michael has been putting stuff in. Disk, which is Cycling Light. What are you called in here? Called a different name everywhere. Hang on, I gotta find you. Right, Life in Cycling here in chat. Been contributing. Dave Cole's been contributing. Tetra 3D is doing some cool stuff. Anyway, things have been coming along nicely, which is exciting. And so we're still really working out framework stuff, I guess, but I wanted to show you some of the things that are on there. So we've got quite a few different watch faces now. You change watch face by double clicking. So we've got this is the digital face now. It's the old, like a Casio style thing. It's got, shows 54 steps today, yay! It's showing that the battery's charging, and obviously the time. I can turn Wi-Fi on and off. Did I press it? I don't know if I pressed it. Oh, there we go. So Wi-Fi is now connected, as you can see, whatever. We've got a binary watch face, which you can single click to change visuals. The Windows clock, which is pretty funny, which you can also click to go minimize. Cassion. I didn't make it, so it's not Cassion. Anyway, so that's pretty cool. Now what we've introduced is an app page. So you've got apps now, like mini apps. And apps are things that don't run in the background. They're just you go to the app page, and then you can launch an app to use it, and then you close it. And while you're in the app, you can't do anything else, right? So for instance, the microphone stuff has now been put into an app. And so you can change that, whatever you do, and to get out of that'll stay in there all the time until you're finished with it, and you long press and it closes the apps. That's the example, hello world. But Tetra 3D got the magnetometer working, yay, with tilt compensation. So as you can see, it's showing north still, even though I'm rotating it. It doesn't require it to be flat. So the compass now works, yay, the magnetometer works. And it's even got a built-in, if you click on the top icon, it's got a built-in calibration system, which I probably shouldn't have done because I probably just killed the calibration. And you can see here, what you do is you do a figure 8 with it, which I'm not going to be able to do now. And then the idea is to get all 3 rings as big as possible to line up. Oh, I did, right? And then when you've done that, you save it. And that's now stored on the watch. Oh, it's okay. I did it anyway. And so that's now stored in settings. And so that's your hard and soft iron settings. So you can calibrate it on the watch, and then unique to every watch, because it's going to be different on each one. So great work on that. Cancel, and then long press to get out of it. So there's more apps coming. Whoops. But the app screen is just like a face. But once you're in an app, yeah. And then a lot of the other stuff is just still old stuff that's in there. Tetra 3D has been working on. He's done some 3D stuff, which is cool. He made a snake game, which hasn't made it in yet as an app. Working on playing around with the 3D compass at the moment. Can the compass be Bluetooth linked to a tablet that does not have a compass? Hey, Wagon Loads, you ask questions like that, the answer is always no, unless you code it. It's an ESP32, so can it do that? If you code it to do that, will it do it out of the box? No, it won't do anything out of the box. I mean, I assume that you could write some software to enable Bluetooth and have it pair with your tablet and then take the magnetometer readings and send them over. Sure. But when you say, can the compass be Bluetooth linked? No, unless you code it. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Like, you'd have to write specific firmware to do that. Like, there's no, can versus could. Like, there's no, like, the magnetometer has no Bluetooth in it, right? But the ESP32 does. So, the answer to anyone's questions of, can it do X, Y, Z? The answer is always, if you code it. It's open source software. So, could it fly a rocket to the moon? I don't know about a rocket to the moon. Could it launch a rocket into low Earth orbit? I guess maybe. There are people who are doing rocket controllers on much slower MCUs than an ESP32, so maybe. I mean, as I said, Tetra 3D's got a 3D engine he wrote for it. Does that mean you can, make games for it and ship games on it? Only if you do it. Tablet does not have a compass and will not work with Google SkyMap. Right, but you have to write all of the software on the tablet side and all of the software on the watch side to get all that working, right? So the answer is, could you, not can it. That's the answer, right? Send one to, yeah. Sure. Well, I don't think the watch format is the right thing to be, this would need to be on the rocket. Like, you wouldn't want to be using Bluetooth to talk to the rocket. Time travel is one thing it can do. It can go forward in time in real time. That's actually very funny and very clever. It can. Hello, Aaron. We need to get Doom on it, and the default answer will always be no, but you can play. Well, Doom's already been done on ESP32. Hey, Rhoda. Okay, so anyway, there's lots of other stuff behind the scenes, lots of optimizations on things, and improvements to the frameworks and documentation and stuff. I finally moved over to, I didn't want to do it, but to Doxygen for the docs and stuff. So if you want to contribute to the firmware, you're welcome to come and contribute. Tilting your wrist for real-time adjustment on trajectory. Yeah, I don't know if that would be that reliable. Okay, so that's the current TinyWatch board. That's a populated board. I have a new version. It's slightly different. There's two main things that are different on here, apart from the PCB shape is slightly different. And I should explain that. So, the idea with, I've got this one. This has been taken out of the plug. The idea as a watch is that the PCB would be stuck to the back of the screen. Okay? The way I ship them, it's not stuck. I don't have any double-sided tape there. If it was a watch, there would be no reason to have the PCB be separate to the screen, right? But because I don't tape it down, because if people want to pull it apart and do what they want with it, right, the way I ship them, the actual PCB can move inside, and the buttons can get out of alignment to the holes because there's nothing really holding the PCB in place other than some little 3D printed clamps, right? Can I measure how hard you punch someone in the face who's worn on the wrist of a used fist? Okay, can it or could it? Could it? Yes. Can it? No. That's a pretty cool, a puncherometer. So my intent was always that as a watch, if it was ever a shipping watch, it just gets stuck down. But because it can't get stuck down, or I don't want to stick it down the way I'm shipping it, because then it'd be really hard to get the PCB off, it means that because that can move, that the whole, if I just take, the whole assembly can become quite loose. There's nothing really holding it together. I've got no screws holding it together at the back. My original design did have 2 screw holes, not to hold the screen in place or the PCB, but to hold the top and the bottom of the 3D printer case. Now, the 3D printer case was always a temporary thing. My plan was, like, I was never planning on even shipping this case. It was just to muck around with, honestly, to design something, to have something. But I ended up shipping the watches that I do ship with the case to protect it during shipping. But like once you stick like I've got a bigger battery in here, and because there's a slightly bigger battery, you can see that the screen is popping up a bit. It's not sitting flush because I can't squeeze it together enough. And then the PCB won't sit in the right spot, and then eventually it becomes loose enough that it all falls apart and the buttons fall out, right? There we go, look at the size battery I got on that. Too big for what this is. But that's okay, I'm experimenting. So there are a few things that I wanted to look at solving. And there's some changes ultimately that we've made in the watch since this version. The first thing we did was we got rid of this little user flash chip that's here. There's a little 1 megabyte flash chip. We're not using that anymore. Well, that's an enormous battery for the size of the watch. Just to, you know, like I was using, and I've also got this style battery, which is a bit smaller, but it's thicker. Doesn't quite fit in the center because of the USB and the battery connector. And then, where was my original battery? I think I moved it. Where did I put it? Oh, there it is. Okay, the original battery I had was this one. The 250, it says 250 milliamp, but I don't believe it, or 200 milliamp hour. That one obviously fits inside, but that's actually much smaller. So this is supposed to be a 400, double the capacity. This is supposed to be a 500. I don't believe any of them, but whatever. Yeah, this is a 500. This is the smallest 500 I could find. It's good width-wise, but it's quite a bit thicker, as you can see. So anyway, so one of the things I wanted to look at was how do I make more space width-wise to be able to squeeze a wider battery into this gap. Now I know we can get rid of this connector and just solder the battery directly on, but I don't want to do that. I can't ship with batteries, right? And I don't want to have people required to solder the battery on permanently at the moment anyway, at this stage with the watch. So how do I get them wider? So one of the things I did on this, obviously, as I said, I got rid of the flash. We're not using that now. We're now doing all of the persistent storage in a separate partition on the main flash. Firstly, we get more space, but we get all of the benefits of the safety of using the flash partition on there. What we were finding was very rarely, right, it wasn't all the time, but it did happen, we could corrupt the flash here. Like for instance, if you went to flash the device or you reset it at a point where it was writing, you could corrupt it. And that wasn't a great scenario where you rebooted the watch and all of your settings were gone, right? So I've discarded that, and we've moved it all onto the main thing. And the current firmware did that ages ago. So the chip's not being used at all here on the current firmware. I got wires with a male and female connectors, so I want to desolder the connector. Sure, you can do that, and if people want to do that, they can. I thought about not populating it, but one of the things I tried was how do I get them further apart? So one of the things I did is, you'll see that this shape is slightly different. The USB-C has been pushed out a bit, got that stick out edge. It's also slightly closer to the edge. So I know it's not a lot, but there's 1.5 millimeters I've gained here in width from that. And I've also taken this edge here out slightly. As you see, this is protruding more than this. So this was flush. This is sticking out more. I also gained an extra millimeter. I know it's not a lot on this side, but that's 2.5 millimeters of extra width between the two connectors on this board. Of course, it won't fit in the current case. It needs a case redesign because of it. While I was doing it though, I moved some things around and I left myself this C cutout to see if I can fit a very small, where's my little ones? No, into, yeah. To see if I can fit a really small insert, heated insert. I mean, that looks like it's a really big hole for the insert, but it's not, because the insert's got to have a lot of stuff around it. And then the idea is that hopefully I'll be able to, because of that cut, you'll be able to at least get one screw to hold the back and the front of the case together. I know it's only one, but one will stop it from just falling apart randomly, right? So that was my aim for that as well. So I've got that cut, I've got it slightly wider, got rid of that flash, and I added one new component, which is not on the current design. And it's something I wish I would have found much sooner. I would have loved for the first revision. Yes, one screw is better than no screws, 100%. And to be fair, the watch stays together quite well until you open and close it a few times. Eventually you wear down on the plastic and then it becomes looser, right? Wristband connect to the front half of the case with a cover plate. I don't understand your solution, but that's not a solution. Everything that you've mentioned there sounds like everything's like a completely custom band and a completely custom whatever. The idea is simplicity and repeatability for people. So this case is designed to work with a standard Apple band, Apple compatible band, which are a dime a dozen. You can get them from anywhere. And it's designed to be able to be 3D printed by anyone on any printer. So, you now own a limited edition. No, so I don't know if I'm actually going to go into production with this, right? I just want to test it first. So the thing that I've added on here, and I added the chunky version, is a haptic motor driver to add haptics to the watch. It's really missing. I feel like you wear the watch, put on your wrist or whatever, it makes a beep. Sometimes you hear it, sometimes you don't. Having haptics is a game changer. Like in terms of my Apple Watch, right? I don't have any sound to come out of my Apple Watch, but everything that I've got is set to be haptics. And just having it tap you is such a really cool thing, like to let you know about something. A beep you can mishear or not hear or whatever. The tapping is great. So I got some, oh, smack my kneecap. So I got some of these drivers, DRV2605L. Now these are the, unfortunately these are the VSOP 10, which would normally be considered a small chip, but it's in the context of this, it's not a small chip, it's a large chip. They did have a BGA version. Unfortunately, it was a 9-pin BGA version, and the center ball is the SDA pin, and to use the BGA version, which was stacks smaller, would require doubling the cost of the PCB to do it. because I'd have to use micro vires to be able to get to that particular ball, which means I'd have to go to either 6-layer boards and pay for extra stuff on that, or go to the smallest vire size that JLC PCB make, which doubles the PCB cost. And I didn't want to do that, so I ended up rejigging so much stuff on the board, like so much stuff. Everything has been shifted one way or another to be able to fit this chip just in here. And then there were 2 little pads on the side to put a little haptic motor. Now, if I can find my box, here we go. Now, I did not know, so the haptic motor that came in that LiLiGo watch is massive. The driver they use is huge. The actual haptic is massive. But I found little tiny haptic motors. And I am totally shocked on how good they are. The wristband can't connect to the top section. Wagon loads? It's impossible. The top section would have to be twice as high, twice as thick. Yeah, no, we can't do it. We can do it. It would be the watch would be huge, high. So I'm trying to design something that isn't Chunkville. Look at this, little tiny haptic motors. I mean, it's not that tiny, like it's bigger than the ESP32 chip. These little tiny haptic motors, actually, that's not even the smallest one. Where's the small one? Sorry, I pulled out the wrong one. 1 second. Can you get, what, haptic motors on reels? No. Is that what you meant? So it's the same size, but this is half as high and a smaller wire. Oh, geez. Half as high and a smaller wire. You can't tell from the top, but hang on. There you go. You can see the difference in height. And these little things buzz like crazy. They are awesome. Could not believe how much they buzz. I actually made a video of it and realized after I made the video that my Mac noise cancels the buzzing sound out. Right, well, they will eat the battery, but they won't. So all of the stuff I've read says, and all the data sheets say, this is what you need, like, and this is how much they're going to actually draw. But my tests don't do that. The tests I did just on an external driver board, they were saying that it's 700 milliamps to 900 milliamps for a really strong buzz. And I was seeing 30 milliamps. So will it eat the battery? Sure. The idea is not to have it buzzing all the time, right? Like you go tap tap on your arm. How often does it tap tap? Okay, there are lots of things that'll chew the battery. I think it changes when they're inside a case. How would it change? No, a necklace of 18650s. Anyway, so I put this little haptic chip on, and I want to see if I can that and have this stuck to the case. It's going to make it actually quite hard. This has to be stuck to the back of the case. Right, okay. Possibly, but we'll see. But you can control how much power. You've got heaps of stuff. Heaps of control over them. So it's going to make it hard to put a case together because that's going to get stuck to the back of the case. So anyway, now I mentioned before that I may or may not be able to build this. So I had a bit of a disaster the other day. So all of my watches and a whole bunch of my projects use a special, like a soft switch IC, a load load IC for turning things on and off, right? Like my Reflow Master Pro is how I do the press to turn it on and press and hold to turn it off, right? And TinyWatch uses it as well. Anyway, I ran out, I don't know when I ordered them, probably like 2 months ago. I ordered another reel, 5,000 of these chips, and I ran out of my first batch a week and a half ago, swapped the reel over, started manufacturing with it on different things, and none of the things were working. Well, some things work with this new chip, and some things don't work with the new chip. And it turns out I ordered the wrong part. So instead of a blah, 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 blah 4A version, I did a blah, 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 blah 2A version. The whole code is identical, same manufacturer, chip looks the same, pinout's the same, everything's the same, just a 2 instead of a 4 in the code, and means that it's the wrong chip. And I've now ordered another reel of 5,000 of the correct chip, which shipped from Mauser yesterday. Very expensive mistake, $2,500 US a reel. And I now have a reel minus 100 chips that I've already populated of chips that I can't use, which is a really annoying slap in the face moment. Happens to us all, I guess. Maybe me more than others. But what it means is the only way I can build this board today is if I take a good chip off something else. I've already taken it off, but I don't know if putting it on here is going to work because I've already had to rework it off another board. So I only have one that I've pulled off that I can do it with. Unless I go take a TinyWatch out of stock, pull one off that, but it's the same problem, right? I have to remove it off one board to use it on this board. So we can try to assemble this today. And even though I've been going for an hour already and haven't even started, can I use the wrong chips for a different project? So the chips work on my Reflow Master Pros, which is fine, because the way I use the chip is different on the Reflow Master Pro. But on all these other projects that I use the chip, I need this new version, and any projects that I make that require me to implement it the way I'm doing it on the TinyWatch and whatever else require the new chip, not the old chip. What's the 2A doing different to the 4A? The 2A is 400 milliamp limited, current limited on its output, instead of 1 amp current limited. But there's something else about the chip. There's a it's missing a FET inside. Something about the way it works is not, it's not working as it should. So okay, so the way so it's a load switch, right? Maybe the easiest way is to show you how the load switch is implemented, so you'll understand. Hey Sam, a Philippine common trap with op amps that have a single character designated for a low power or reduced rail variant, often right next to the number in green. Yeah, so I don't even know how, like I was looking for the right parts. So the reason this happened is because the chip, the manufacturer Torex for this chip, they've got like, of the 4A variant, there are like 9 different chips in the range. They're all identical, but they all have a different turn on delay and a different turn off delay. And then the same thing with the 2As, exactly the same range, different times with the turn on and the turn off delay, right? And so the ones I originally had, so this is my third batch. This reel that is I can't use is my third batch of them. So I originally bought like 150, and then I bought 500, and then I bought a reel of 5,000 because I was using them on a lot of projects and I really liked them, and I'm just gonna commit to that. But the very first batch I bought had a 2-second hold to turn on, which I really disliked. Like people would go to turn on their Reflow Master Pro, they'd push the button and it wouldn't turn on, and they had to push and hold to turn on. kind of like what the Apple Watch does, where you got to push it and hold it for like 2 seconds to turn on. I didn't like that. The next batch I got were, it was a 1 second to turn on. And even that I didn't like. And they have a 0.2 second to turn on, but they had no stock. I couldn't get stock anywhere, right? And so when I was looking for the third batch for the real, I was still looking for a version that had 0.2. And so somehow I went from looking at the one that I'd bought, which is the 4A, which was the 1 second hold, looking through all the different versions of what was in stock and whatever, and somehow, I'm not blaming Mauser's searching at all, but somehow I must have had both versions in the list that I was looking at. I didn't even realize there were two versions, right? Like the 2A and the 4A, the lower current version, the higher current version. And so somehow I must have ended up with both in the list. And then I saw the 0.2 hold and thought, oh, they've got them in stock. And I ordered 5,000 of them. Didn't think that there was potentially a different product number. And when you look at the codes, like you got to look at it 3 times before you see the difference in the number. It's a very long code with quite complex. And I was looking at the end complexity, like the first 5 characters are the same, and the last characters are the ones that designate the hold times, and there's 1 digit in the middle that's different. I'm not blaming Mauser Search, it's 100% on me, 100% on me. But very expensive, and I only worked this out yesterday. I've had some problems for the last week and a half on some boards that have been built trying to debunk, and I only worked it out yesterday, really frustrating. So, this is the switch here, and this is the way I use it on most of my projects except on the Reflow Master Pro. So what you've got is V-bus comes in here and V-bus comes out, or you've got 5 volts in and you've got 5 volts out here. Actually, let me just, whoop. Okay, 5 volts in, 5 volts out, okay? And you've got an on-off switch that turns it on and off. And this works, no problem. And then there's also a software side power shutdown, so the actual, you can tell the code to shut down the switch. This is how I implement on everything except for the Reflow Master Pro. On the Reflow Master Pro, pin 4 here is called it's a power good pin. So the actual part is, well, here. That's the start. It's a Torex XC6194A. 4A is the important bit there. And then the rest of the numbers on the part are how long the hold to turn on is, how long the hold to turn off is, and then whether it's tape, reel, blah, 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 right? Quite a long code. So pin 4 is what's called a power good pin, which is either it goes high when power is on and the power is good, and it's low or, you know, high impedance when the power is off. On the Reflow Master Pro, I use that pin to enable or disable the 3.3 volt LDO. Right? And so 5 volts is always coming to the chip, and the LDO is turned off and on, which turns the Reflow Master, like all the ESP32 side, on and off, right? And which works fine with the 2A variant. But on here, the reason I do it differently on here, and I'm not using that to turn on and off, is because I have V-bus. I have a lot of stuff that is powered, whether the switch is on or off, and then I have stuff that is powered when the switch is on, and it's nothing to do with turning the 3.3 volt regulator on and off to control the watch. Because, for instance, you can plug the USB in and charge the battery with the phone off, with the watch off, with the actual LDO off, the power switch off. Why not using thermal relief in VBus net? Because it pales in comparison to the ground copper. I mean, you've got this tiny little net here, which is irrelevant. Tiny little net here, irrelevant. And then you've got, you know, ground, which is mega. Yeah, not really an issue. Thermal relief on those. So what it looks like is the 2A version doesn't turn on properly if there's no load or something. I don't know, whatever it is. I need to buy battery. Recommend one that fits, or define fits well. The only one that fits well is that little, in the current case, is the little one here. So for some reason, this configuration does not work with the 2A version. Even though the data sheets look the same, everything about the application notes, everything else looks the same. But what it does work, so what I don't get is 5 volts out on the 2A chip. But what I do get is power good on the chip when it's turned on. And power good is off when it's turned off. I don't use the VBus out. I use the power good for the LDO on the Reflow Master Pros. So I could technically keep using them on the Reflow Master Pro, but that's why I couldn't understand what was going on. You know, I spent, asked my supporters, Patron supporters, like I spent a week and a half pulling my hair out with some boards, could not work out why they weren't working. And I didn't look at the chip itself up until yesterday, because the chip works on the Reflow Master Pro. And it just completely threw me that the chips are good, they work. I've got a stack of Reflow Master Pros here and they all work and they're all using this chip. But nothing else that I used it on worked. So I started digging yesterday, comparing and whatever else, which led me to look at the chip, and eventually I was looking at Mauser, like I was going through like the listing of the chips, looking at data sheets, blah, 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 and I worked it out because I went to open the data sheet of the chip that I was currently using, and then I couldn't find my web browser that the data sheet was open, which is, don't ask. And so I thought, stuff it, I'll just open it again, and I went back to find the part again, and I opened the data sheet, but I found the previous part by fluke, and suddenly it popped up next to the data sheet that was open in my browser, and suddenly I had 2 data sheets. I'm thinking, why is it popped up 2 data sheets? So I looked at the 2 data sheets, and that's when I worked it out. Yes, Christian? Supposed to pull up power good and internally. Well, it might require it, but it doesn't say so.
TinyWATCH-S3 says more.
More. 400 open tabs. Yeah, a lot of browsers, a lot of tabs. Yeah, I can't help myself. Possibly, but the fact is, I have too many designs now that I'm not changing the designs to work with these chips. I've got designs in production, and although it's going to cost me more to replace the chips, it's going to take me way more time and effort to go back, modify designs on like 4 different products, and go through prototyping again to check them all, and then repanelize them all, new boards, new stencils, new everything else. That will also add up to quite a lot of money, but that'll add up to stacks of time. I'd rather to take known working boards that I'm already shipping in production, no problem, that work great, put the correct chip on it. And I'm just going to write this one up to absolute stupidity on my behalf for not spotting the difference. So, can't tell you how many times I reworked some boards and kept replacing chips. And what would happen is I turn them on, I'd have 5 volts coming in, and I'd only have 1.8 volts coming out. I have no idea why I was getting only 1.8 volts. So anyway, well, there were no other. The only projects I would use them on would be the Reflow Master Pro, but it makes no sense losing a feeder position. Like I'm looking at, like, I've sold like 600 Reflow Master Pros since I started releasing them. I've got 5,000 of the chips here. I'm never going to go through those chips. For me to waste a feeder position and a feeder, honestly, I'll put the chips in a bag, put some desiccant in them, put them aside, and forget that it ever happened, I think. So, I can try to build this board. The other thing I can do, if you want, is I built this yesterday. Oops. I built that yesterday. That's my new conveyor controller board, my updated one. This is just me messing around with the limit switches. So this is the revised one. I could build more of these. This does work. Yay. We'll connect to the whatever. So you can see limits working. It's now using a normally closed. So if it gets triggered, you can see that the limit turns off. Or if it's open, so if I trip and break a wire or disconnect a wire, it's triggered. So lit up means it's good. No light means it's bad, it's homed, like it's triggered, right? It wasn't worth me sticking transistors on those LEDs just to make them light up the right way. So I need to build 4 more of these, because I need 5. These ones have also got the dip switches on there, so I can identify which conveyor it is. Yeah, so I can build 4 more of these on stream now, or I can try to build the watch and hope that the load switch works. So you tell me. Both need to be done, but I'm worried that me reusing the load chip may not work. That ESP looks like what I need for my project. What ESP? You mean the Nano? That's just my Nano. It's Nano S3. That's that. Whoop. Full microcontroller board. Everything you need, all you need to do is connect a USB connector to it. And buttons, reset. IO0 buttons if you need it. This seems an important bit. The 9 series has a power good function, the PG pin, for properly adjusting the timing of turning on the DC deregulator rather than. Well, the 9.2 has that as well. They both have that. But again, I'm not using a DC regulator. I don't need to time things. That's not the issue in this case. So there's quite a few differences between them. Like but that means you have to use the PG. No, you don't have to use the PG pin. Because I don't use the PG pin at all on here. Okay, I'm not using the PG pin at all on this, and this turns on and off just fine. If I see if I can get to the button without breaking it. So push and hold. Hope I pushed the button. No, I didn't. It's a tiny little button. Try it again. Okay, got it that time. Push and hold. It'll turn off. Hello? Oh God, why can't I hit the button? Okay, one more time. Push and hold. Okay, it turns off. and then push to turn on. And the screen is awesome. You can thank Matt, Pro Engineer, for that. And that's all not using the PG pin at all. It's a fully validated design. As I said, I've got like 4 different products that use this design, this layout, right? I can't tell you exactly why it's not working on the 2A chip, other than it could just be it's browning out because of the 400 milliamp, which is not enough. You need 550 milliamps on an ESP32. I need USB coming out the side of the PCB as the UFL antenna, because I plan to put this. You can put the USB wherever you want to put the USB. They're just pins. We can route it wherever you want to route it. It's just a convenience of a module. That's good. It's just convenience of it's an all-in-one module, right? I mean, you can route the USB to wherever it comes out this end, but you can route it. It doesn't matter. Obviously, routing it next to the antenna is not a great idea. I mean, having a cable coming out there is going to interfere with the antenna, but you know. Please do not leave the software pin and the shutdown pin open. Each should have a certain. Yeah, I'm using the shutdown pin and the on pin. They're all pulled correct. I've been through it all, Terran. Like the chips, their functionality of how they work for the A chips, not the B variant, which doesn't have the shutdown, which doesn't have the off. You have to use the shutdown pin. They're the same. Like, I can't find, other than one less MOSFET, I believe, in the 2A, and the output current, and a slightly different range of input voltage. The chips are the same. So, yeah. The 2A is a max of 470 milliamp. Right, that's what I'm saying, the output current. That's up to you how you design your board, Wagon Loads. Like, that's nothing to do with the module. Module just breaks out castellated edges. You can put whatever you want anywhere. Oh, wicked. Dave Paul Jones. I haven't moved any of that stuff, the firmware, into the web flasher yet, because it's still just all work in progress. So what do you want me to do? I'm set up to build this. I've got a stencil ready to go. I've got paste out here. I can try building one. Should we do this? Or should we do this or this? At 1.5 hours into a stream. Oh, I don't want to go super long stream today. What's going to be the quickest to build? I didn't hear results. What? There's no difference I can find between the two data sheets that would explain why it's not working, other than it's probably a current limit issue. It's a current issue. Because the ESP32 requires 500 to 550 milliamps, and the 2A can't deliver that. How you doing, Hubba? It says go for the Conveyor PCB. So the one I've already built's got to go in my first Conveyor, because I need to replace that one because it's now going to be normally closed for the switches. They need to be swapped out, and then the Conveyor ID stuff. Is your preference to use a separate power chip rather than push button latching? Well, there is no push button latching for software. You can't do that in software. If the ESP32 is off, how do you do latching? So it needs to be a, no, I'm not doing an 8-hour stream. So it needs to be an external switch. And I can do it using a Schmidt trigger and, you know, some flip-flops and a whole bunch of other stuff. But these chips are really, really nice. You know, that they still need a couple of extra, you know, passives, but they've got a lot more control. they've got proper current limiting, and I can, do software shutdown, and then you got a completely separate on and off switch that has nothing to do with requiring 3.3 volts to be present or a chip to be powered. But the push button doesn't power the LDO momentarily. That's not what I want. I want power to be on and off separate to the ESP32 being awake or asleep or off and on. I have requirements for this chip, like in my products and my designs, so it cannot be done in software. What I'm doing cannot be done in software. The way like maybe on one project, some convoluted way, but yeah, no. It's what this chip is specifically for. It's what it's designed for, right? Is to do this. Unfortunately, it's not programmable timer, so I can't program a chip to say I want you to press this for on time and this for off time. Hey, Dave. But like you got to buy a dedicated chip that is preset with that time. But other than that, as long as you get the right product code. So anyway, the versions I've got coming now are 0.2 seconds to turn on and 3 seconds held to turn off. And they're the 4A chip, and they've already shipped, and I'll have them Friday morning, and I can get back to whatever. So I could wait till next week to build this and know that I've got known good chips, or I can build this now and it may turn on and it may not because I'm reusing an existing chip. But we're running out of time, so someone's got to decide. Hey Ray, how you doing? I didn't see you pop in. I can't believe no one wants to commit. Do the watch, you already know the controller board works. John, I know it works, but I still need 4 more of them. Well, if it doesn't work because of the load switch, I'll know it's the load switch, right? Hey XL, hey Xmicron. If it doesn't work, I just need to wait till my chips come and swap the chip out, right? With a new one. Go for the watch, go for the watch. I also have to design a case for this, and I can't really design a case, well, I can't fit a case until I've got a working board. I've started modifying the case. Okay. Go for the watch, go for the watch. I'm talking myself into the watch. Okay, let's go for the watch. I wonder if my microscope's on. Oh, it is, but that's not in focus. Okay, let's see if I can get this in focus. Whoa, spinny, spinny. I wish this had autofocus. Okay, so that's kind of in focus for populating. And just after coming in, so just after getting over the shock of working on an SMD board, someone used a pickaxe on. A what? No. You're joking, right? Why is there an engineering fee? Why not? Because they can. They still work out cheaper. Devil Jones Firmware removed the KiCad. Super inspired me with the recent series. Awesome. Design your product uses the wrong chip. Oh, that's easy. I've got a few of those already. The round cutout I mentioned before is to allow a space for a threaded insert for a screw to hold the front and the back of the case together. Okay, I'm going to do this. Okay, fine. What I need to do is I need to set myself up. It's been a while since I've hand assembled a watch, so I need to turn my screen around. Sorry about this. So I can see. Okay, I've got iBomb set up, so I can see that, and I need to move my chat over so I can see that. I really need to set myself up better for streaming, but you know, can I see that? It's not great. My camera's in the way. Okay, maybe I can see that.
Cian, Chad has disconnected.
Oh, you bugger. Okay, so this won't be in focus because I've already got a sensor ready to go. Well, I had a stencil ready to go and it's moved. Oh, that's not great. What's going on here? I've already mixed my paste. I know that isn't in focus, sorry. There we go, maybe that's a bit better. Okay, let me just, and a little bit of tape to hold that down. I have to prototype this with high temp paste because the paste that was on the chip that I took off was high temp paste. So I'm gonna have to use my, can everyone hear me okay? Because I'm away from the microphone. So I have to use my water-based SAC 305, which means I can't populate the microphone, or I can. I'm just putting paste on. This part's really not exciting.
Captain Kirk says I hear you.
Okay, good. If I can't wash the board with the microphone on, and I have to wash the board because it's water-based paste. Okay, here we go. Oh. That looks fine. I'll just, hang on. Let's get rid of the excess paste so I don't stick my arm in it. Okay. That actually looks good. Can everyone see that? Perfect registration. Okay, let's get it out. Here. Okay. I'm just going to put the lid on the paste before I forget. Okay, I'm going to have to readjust the microscope. Let me see if I can also get it higher, a bit higher for you, so you can see a bit more. Is that in focus? No. I can't see my screen where I'm. Sorry about the wobbles. Is that focus good enough? I can't really. It's a bit shiny, isn't it? How's that? I can't see the screen. Yeah, I unfortunately I can't see my screen and reach the focal dial at the same time. So I gotta keep coming back to have a look. Okay, that's pretty good. I think that's pretty good. Oh. Is that okay now, Steve? I think that's gonna have to do.
Captain Kirk says, can solder paste templates use alignment holes where an alignment pin goes through both the PCB and template?
Sure, but that's kind of hard to do. Where do you put the pins? How do you get... There's going to have to be on some type of jig to do that. Otherwise the pins go where? Like how do you hold everything flat? But yes, they can do that. Okay. Well, so we should start. So, as I mentioned, that is, you can see, that's the chip that I'm putting on, and you can see it's been used. It's got a bit of flux on it to get it off, a bit of build-up of paste. So it's I'm going to stick it on. But that is the chip that's going to potentially cause us grief. Okay. And we're underway. There is a European piece of company that does that. Yeah. One of my boards from Eagle, and I use the Gerber files to load. Dave Paul Jones, you just import your Eagle. Go to File, Import, Other, and choose your Eagle file, and it'll load your whole Eagle project into KiCad. Tetraprint, do I make my own solder masks? You mean the shapes for it? Yeah, a lot of them are custom. A lot of my parts use a custom solder mask. Okay, here we go. I've turned the light down for you, but it actually makes it hard for me to see now. Okay. Okay, I'm placing, these are little TVSs. It's going to take me a little while to assemble this. A lot of uniques on it. Definitely might need a third coffee for this. Okay. All of the buttons have TVS on it. One more. Probably overkill, but it is designed to be worn, so the chances of static build-up from skin and clothes is pretty high. Ah, okay, that makes sense, Dave. Why you did that. Cool. Okay. I'm not going to do this in any particular order, and I'm going to populate all the stuff that I know what is what, and then I'll have to go and reference the IBOM for some of the things that I can't remember, especially because I move things around. Oh, I missed a TVS. Okay, these are the 5.1K resistors. I've also packed a lot of these components in closer together. Still hand assemblable on purpose, but I did actually get things tighter just to give me the space to be able to fit everything in and get that motor driver chip in. Now the thing with the motor driver chip is I might not have enough capacitance. They require quite a lot of capacitance on the output, but I don't have a lot of space. So I've got a couple of caps in there, up top here. So we'll have to see how that goes. Okay. As I mentioned, this is not in any particular order. This is the LDO. You don't need me to call out what these are, do you? As I'm doing them. Did I order pigtails to reuse mine? Just practice. The more you practice, the easier it gets with hand assembly. Okay. This is just decoupling. What I should do . Got paste on the end of my tweezers. You clean them. You can do about 200 chip. What? Sorry, I'm going to be doing a lot of spinning. If it's too much, let me know.
Loke Dupont says you spin me right round, baby, right round.
We're definitely missing some music. Definitely missing some music. Okay. Was it this Sunday in my monthly nerd barbecue? You should come along and bring the watch to show off. Yeah, I've really been meaning to get down. Every month, there's been something that's got in the way, and it's just been so frustrating, I gotta tell you. Like, obviously last week was the, I didn't want to turn up knowing that there was COVID in the house, even though I was feeling fine and I wasn't testing anything. But yeah, I just would have felt really bad. But no, that was last week. That doesn't count. What am I talking about? You didn't have a barbecue last week. What was last time? What was the reason I didn't come last time? I don't know. Anyway, you're right. I should. I would love to. Yeah. I'm just rambling now. Catch you later, Max. A lot of 0.1 microfarad caps, let me tell you. A lot. We go through so many of them. Is that all of the 0.1s? No. 2 more, I think. For the fuel gauge. One there. And one there. Okay. Looks like I haven't even touched the sides. Ones. Wait, what is that? Okay, these are 1 microfarads going on. I've already put a bunch on, but I'm going to put more. I've over decoupled the board. Like, really I have, like, no doubt. I've probably doubled the amount of decoupling caps on here. Just because you can't have too many decoupling caps. Well, you can wreck it. But anyway, the whole idea was you could always remove ones that aren't needed, but better to have, shit. Oh, these are my wrong tweezers. I don't know if you can see, these bent, these tweezers are bent. I picked up my bad tweezers the whole time I've been using. Okay. They're good tweezers. Cool. By the way, I'm not really getting to read the chat much, so I can't see everyone's comments at the moment. Okay, now I need to start pulling some parts off my shelf. 2.2 picofarad caps. No, microfarad caps, not picofarad. 2.2 microfarad caps.
Captain Kirk says, do those vacuum tweezers work?
I don't know, I don't use them. Okay, this is one of the caps for the motor output. Oops, I don't know if you saw that one, sorry. I was up top here, that's a 2.2. What have I got here? Oh, that's a 1 that I missed. Whoops. So they're starting to get it about as close as you can get for tweezers. Maybe get a bit closer, but yeah. Okay, and there's one more 2.2 I need to add. Okay, now I'm going to leave the put those away. I'm going to leave the antenna stuff. I'm just going to stick a 0R, bunch of 0Rs for the time being. I'm going to have to check the match on it and make sure it's still good. So there's no point putting those components on. Okay. 220 picofarad. Oh, did I miss a one there as well? Well, I missed a lot of ones. I was obviously not paying attention. What other ones did I miss? Okay. Okay, time for lots of 100k resistors. I'm just going to plonk a whole bunch down that you can maybe see, maybe can't see. And I'm going to start putting these on all over the place. You need to call out if I'm working on an area of the board that isn't on screen. I can't see my other monitor. Wait, that's not right. So many 100k resistors. The last one. Oops, that would have been bad. Okay, I think I got them all. Okay, now lots of 10Ks. Ah, that wasn't good. That'll fix itself in post. How many people got that gag? Gonna fix it in post. These are the second I2C bus pull-ups, and turnover. These are the first bus. So the driver chip is actually controlled by I2C, the haptics. There's a very comprehensive Arduino library for it. So that's on the first bus with the other peripherals. The second bus is dedicated just for the touch. Okay, I think, is that all of? No. One more 10 I missed.
Superhouse TV says random chat while assembling. Have you seen June 2? I saw it last night with Andy G. It's bananas, in a good way.
I have not, but I've heard that it is outstanding. I think that there are a lot of people who are quite suspect about how it was going to be. Just by, you know, the trailers and stuff. And but I've heard that it's like really, really fantastic. So yeah, I'm excited to see it, but I don't know if I'm going to get to the movies to see it. I'll have to go by myself one day. Poor me. 5.1s. I haven't been to the movies in ages. I don't think I've been to the movies since before COVID, actually. Isn't that weird? 3.3s. Yeah, I don't think I have. Wait. They should be the other way around. That should be...
PR0 engineer says, does that mean you didn't see Top Gun on the big screen?
I did not. I saw it on my big TV, which is not quite as big as a big screen, I have to admit. But yeah, I did not.
Captain Kirk says, last movie I saw in the theater was Forrest Gump.
Sorry, that's not funny. Is that funny? We're supposed to be, was that? I apologise if that wasn't supposed to be funny. That was a long time ago. I think that's supposed to be red, but it looks like a green LED. We're getting close, folks. We are.
Zekite says, what features would you like Kicker to have that would make your life easier?
So what features would you like KiCad to have? That's a good... Hang on. What am I... Sorry, I'm just missing 0.1. We're getting close. All the passives are almost done. Almost.
UK System says, how many boards do you need to do to make it worth pick and placing them?
Well, panels. When you're assembling in panels, like that's too open a question. Because it depends on how many unique parts there are. It depends
Captain
on...
Kirk says first movie was either The Birds or Fantastic Voyage.
Yeah, like it really depends. There's so many factors to do with... Sorry, let me just... Like how many unique parts, how dense the board is, if it's... You're talking about production, or you're talking about just boards for yourself. You don't want to be doing repetitive stuff like this. You make mistakes. You put the wrong thing on. You get tired. So, that's not right. Shit, lost it. I'm pretty sure I moved it. I'm pretty sure I almost put that on the wrong spot. It was there. I need a diode. It also comes down to how long it takes you to set up, get all the parts out, how easy it is to find the parts and to distinguish between them. So yeah, it's a much more complex question than just how many boards. Okay, 1K2. I'm gonna have to start getting up and picking up different components now. See, these are all just a one-off component on a board, and this is where it chews your time. So unless your parts are really easily accessible, it might only take 5 seconds to place a part, but it might take 2 minutes to find it and get it, right? Or in my case, get one out and then lose it straight away, which is what I just did. So I reconfigured this section down here that I'm working on to give more clearance to get the plug in, because it was a bit tight before. So because of that, I totally forgot what the layout was. Hey DIY, how you doing? Okay, I need 22 ohm. I also need, while I'm up, a 68. So 22 and 68. 68 and 22. We're getting close, folks. Soon we'll only have just large things left. And they're quick and easy, and I've got most of them out already. That's 68. See, I just dropped one then and I don't know where it went. Normally I wouldn't be doing this under the microscope, or sorry, under the camera. So I'd move things away when I was getting access to them. But I'm trying to keep everything under the camera for you. Which means I'm dropping parts off to the side. What is that? 1K. Put these away. And it also depends on the pick and place. If you're talking about a desktop pick and place machine, even 5 boards is worth doing on a pick and place machine if it's a repetitive
Rayburn
stuff.
says, "Cian, do you not tear drop your wires?"
Do I not teardrop my wires? No. Firstly, teardropping is new in KiCad 8, but it's yeah, the whole teardrop thing is, you know, there are when I say, I mean this in all seriousness, there are millions of boards that have been designed and work perfectly fine that have no teardrop anything. So, you know, it's something that's cool, but it's not necessary. Okay, I think that's all passives done. So let's get into some bigger stuff. Yay! We're almost there, folks. and we find out if it's going to work or not. Okay, that's one. Okay. I hope that's the right way. I think it is. Yep. Teardrops from my eyes. That's funny. Okay, it's the fuel gauge. Maybe put the buttons on. Whoops, oh, drop one. Buttons are also in a slightly different position now than they were before in the other case, because you have to move things around to fit. Okay, buzzer. Battery. So, I don't know if I'm not going to place, as I said, I'm not going to place the microphone and waste it. Although I will need to check that the microphone works, especially with the haptics right next to it. Curious to know if there's any interference. There might be. Okay. I've got to get some 0 ohm resistors out. To do the antenna line. Here's the S3. USB and haptics. And that is all, and the 0 ohm. We get the 0 ohms out. Hey Beata, sorry I'm not deliberately ignoring chat. I just want to get this finished. 2 hours, 10 minutes. Oops, dropped one. Luckily I got a few of them out.
Michael says I'll go see Dune with you. Just gotta watch part 1 first.
Well, we better watch it. Come on. Okay. So that's going to be a very bad match. A very bad match. Okay, USB and then haptics. There's USB. and Haptics, which I've not even opened the container, the packet before. Opening it now. Danger if pink. Okay. Well, not pink, blue. Just blue. Just getting out of the tape. Put it back in the bag so I don't lose them. Okay. So this is the haptic motor. As I said, it's quite large, considering just 1 second, I need to check something. For me, it was a real pain to get this on. Yeah, pin 1, good. To fit this in. It's like almost the biggest chip on here. But I just couldn't justify going the BGA. Come on. Okay, so I think that is everything except for the MEMS microphone. I can always rework that, put that on later after I've cleaned the board. And obviously their pads.
PR0 engineer says I thought you loved BGAs now. Face with tongue.
I'm not afraid of BGAs anymore, apart from, like, you know, making sure there's enough space between the balls to be able to put a normal wire, even a second or third tier, but I had to go all the way to the really expensive ones. Oh, hang on, I haven't put the magnetometer on. We should do that. Let me get one of these. This little guy here, look at that. You see this little tiny guy? He's a little BGA, look. Everyone see that? Wait. Can you see it? I don't know if you can see it. It's tiny. Anyway, that's the magnetometer. That's the spacing on the other chip, but it's 3x3. And as you can see, there's no room to get a wire inside unless you go micro wire. And they are just too expensive. Not just too expensive, but also increased design risk. They increase design risk of the actual PCB manufacturing, and they increase the manufacturability issues of the board. So, and I've got no way of inspecting a center pin, which means I can't, you know, I'm not buying an X-ray machine. That is not happening. Okay, moving all this away. Better start up the start up that. Okay, moving everything out of the way. I'm going to get. Oh, I should have timed this amount. Let's get this under. You see it heating up now. See, 19 volts, 18 volts, 19 volts.
Captain Kirk says I thought you were not supposed to put anything under OMU.
Not supposed to put anything under. What are you talking about? Put anything under an IMU? What's under the IMU? I'm gonna have to refocus this so you can see. Oh, is that myself? How's that? Nope. Okay, cool. Okay, So it's been going for 1 minute 20. It's only at 116 degrees. How long did you say, if you're still around, Steve, how long did yours take to get to 200? I'm already at 130 and I'm only at 127. I might be able to see that? Oops, not. So it's definitely slower, but you've got a high voltage on yours. Okay, once we reflow this, definitely need to do a toilet break.
Captain Kirk says hole traces or wires under an IMU affect readings.
Well, you don't put traces under, but you need traces to get to the IMU. I mean, you can't avoid electronics. And you can't, how do you not do a wire? BGAs are designed to work with microvias. You just need to, you don't want other signals. See, look at that, 190 degrees, 190 degrees, and this is already reflowing. Look, just to show, look, 196, 197, and the board's half reflowed already. I mean, this unit is wrong. Its temperature is just complete, look at it. 205 and everything's reflowed on the board. That is just not right. Anyway, just checking everything. Everything looks good. I mean, it's not, it just got to 220. Oh my God, how am I going to grab the board off now? I've got no place to grab it from. Wow, okay. So I can't see what's on the camera, I apologise. I'm just taking the board off, putting it onto here. Turn that off. So 189 degrees it started reflowing. It's supposed to be 225 it starts reflowing. That paste. My oven, my hot plate is just not good. I'm just rotating my screen back. I'm just letting that cool down.
PR0 engineer says, do you do the microphone separately?
In this case I am, because I have to reflow this with SAC 305 because I'm sharing the load. Oh, you missed all the start of the discussion. I'm using a second-hand load switch, which was reflowed with SAC 305, so I have to reflow it with 305 again, which is water-based, and so I can't clean the board with the microphone on. Okay, did I miss anything else? Still 62 people. Holy moly. Okay. Does my camera still work? It does. Good. Okay. It's just cooling down. So we're going to do a quick toilet break. Otherwise, I'm going to piss my pants. There you go. That too much information? Maybe. Okay, so famous influencer. Why? What did I do? Okay, back in. I'm not making another coffee. Back in like 3 minutes. Yes, it does work when it's on a coffee break. You can't hear it, but I can hear it. That's quite disconcerting, going to the bathroom and then having someone talk to you from upstairs when you're the only one in the place. Anyway, now it eventually times out. Like, you've heard my thing go, see on, your chat's disconnected, right? It just times out and disconnects. So, and then the chat stops. Okay, so the board should be cool. Cool as in cooled down. Don't know if it's cool as in works yet. No. So there's the board. That's as close as I can get. So we need to check if it works. Everything looks good on the board. I'm not going to solder the haptics or anything on yet until we've confirmed the load switch works. What I should do quickly, hang on, I'm sorry, bear with me a second. The load switch does look like it reflowed okay. So that could be very positive. Okay, so all I can do is, let's just beep it and make sure that there's no ground short. Can everyone hear this? I hope so. I'll put the ouch there. Okay, just need to check there's no ground short on. Okay, this should be ground. And this side should not be. Good. Good. Okay, oh, hang on. Let me just check. So that was 3.3 volts. Let me just check 5 volts.
Captain Kirk says good test case for TinyWatch. Tap to restart chat.
Tap to restart. Not really. That means it'd have to be always on, connected to the internet, connected to YouTube, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, I don't know. That's... I'm just going to need to check ground and... Okay, so there's no short on the 5 volts or on the 3 volts rail. So that means safe to plug in. Okay, it's upside down. I just want to make sure it powers on. Okay. Ah, see, I told you. Did I not say it was a green one? But that should not be on. So that's not good. That LED should not be on. So when you plug it in, oh, wait. No, it should be on. It should be on. Sorry, I forgot. That's just showing 5 volts is present. That's not power on. Okay, so I'm an idiot. What's the question? Okay, let me just, okay, let's check the voltages. So, we have, wait, what side? Okay, we have 5 volts, that's coming in, that's before the chip. And then we have nothing because the switch is off, and nothing on the 3.3 rails. If I turn the switch on, if I can hit the switch, I don't know if I hit it then or not. We did, I did. So now we've got 4.95 coming in from the load switch and 3.3 volts. So the load switch is working. Yay! And we have 3.3 volts. That green LED is pissing me off. I told you it was green. I knew it looked wrong. Let's see if it enumerates. Oh, yay, again. Okay, and enumerates. So we have USB. Yay! So I just now need to solder on. Oh, what happened to my Discord? Oh, that's right, I moved it over there. Sorry, I was just reading something someone pinged me on Discord. Reed has forgotten that I am streaming. I don't know a special name, but can't remember what mine are called. But they're ProbeMaster ones. Mine, very sharp, very good ones, very sharp. Okay, I'm going to, or what I should do first is, I'm going to open up Arduino IDE. I'm not putting the TinyWatch software on here yet because it doesn't have any haptic support. So I'm going to load up a haptic example in Arduino and flash it on and make sure we can see the chip first, because there's a lot of other stuff on the bus. And then we will see, I'll then solder some things onto it. Okay, so bloody hell, it takes forever to load. Okay, examples. It's going to do Adafruit's baked example. So quite a few people have libraries for it. This is not a brand new chip, like it's been around for ages. When will I clean the board? Sometime today. I've got 24 hours to clean it. Okay. Yeah, this just goes through a whole bunch of clicks. But see, so what's great about this chip is it has all these built-in effects. Transitions up, transitions down, long, like clicks, long clicks, sharp, medium, taps, buzzing, all these different things. I don't know how many effects it's got. Look at them, 123 in here. Like a strong click, a sharp click, a soft. Anyway, let's see if it works. I need to, yep, TinyS3 is fine. Okay, let's see if it finds it. Let's wait an hour for it to compile. Uploading. At least I can flash it. But it found it, and it's doing all its testing. Oh, it's working. So let's, now which one am I going to solder on? I'll solder on the bigger one. Oh no, I'll solder on the little one. I can't even see if you can see what I'm seeing. No, okay, here. I'm going to solder on this little one. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear it working though. So that's the problem. Let's go back to the microscope. And let's solder it on.
Captain Kirk says if you say what time is it, would it answer?
What? If you say what? I can't even see. I don't know if that's in focus or not, but it's actually not for me because it's too high now. Bring it back down.
PR0 engineer says, I thought the IC was the haptic motor. It all makes sense now.
You thought the what? I thought the IC was... Oh, no, that's the motor driver. It's a motor driver. Okay. Might want to turn that around. Hang on. Back. Bend the wires. Okay, let's try that again. Trying to get it lined up so you can see. The bump from the solder pad is not helping. Okay, I need tweezers to do this. Stay. Okay. This is frustrating. I'm going to have to rotate it again. Sorry, I'm going to have to use my tweezers to do it. I was hoping it would just sit there, but no.
Loke Dupont says I would love an extra handle too when soldering.
Come on. Okay. Now the question is, the big question, this is going to work for me, but it's not going to work for you because you're not going to hear it. But if it works for me, I'll see if I can adjust my microphone somehow. Okay.
Rayburn says, where's the blue tack when you need it?
Indeed. Oh, it's working! Can you see it vibrating? Can you see that? Hang on. I wonder if I can get closer. So, I need something for it to vibrate against. Look at it, hang on. Oh, it jumped off the thing. Look. Gotta remember, we don't have to hear it.
Captain
we
Kirk
just need
says,
to
can
feel
the
it.
emu sense the motor vibrations?
I have no idea. Possibly, but I'd have to program it to do it. So could it? Not can it, could it? Yes, I guess. Might be too fast. So now, I'm assuming no one can hear it. Can everyone hear the music outside though? Now audio. Advanced audio properties. Can hear both. Can you hear it vibrating? Can you really? Oh, that's awesome then. Okay, I wasn't sure if you could or not. So you got to remember, it's subtle, but it's designed to feel it on the thing. It looks really cool bouncing around though. So what you can't see is this. This is going through all the different things. That's really cool. Okay, so that works. I guess the question is, does everything else work? We should test that now, shouldn't we? So what I need to do is flash.
VR0 engineer says, when can I place my order for Rev 2?
I'm not placing this for a while. Use a plastic. I don't have a plastic cup. Maybe I can use a. Hang on. That's a good idea, actually. The problem is it needs to hit the cup. I don't think that's any better than the PCB. Yeah, I couldn't believe how small it was. I wish I would have found that earlier. Okay, we need to see if the rest of it works. So, what I need to do is get a screen. Getting a new screen. Gonna plug the screen in. I also gave myself more clearance around the screen now, the connector. So it's easier to get your fingers in. Okay, so screen is in. Let's now see if the rest of the watch starts up. We should also see if the battery charges. And let's see if the connector, Okay, it's easier to get the connector in now. Those things aren't in the way. Charging light is on. God, that green LED is a killer. Okay, so let's turn it on. It's going to make it start vibrating, and let's flash TinyWatch source code on there. I don't know how they compare. I didn't even know there was such thing as these little piezos before Beata, let alone anything else. The only other ones I've seen before are like a tube, a cylinder, a long cylinder. I would assume that there isn't a long cylinder in the Apple Watch, but I found these by fluke. So, it's crazy. It's compiling. Linking. It's boring to show you this. I'm going to show you this. It's going to start flashing in a second, so it'll stop vibrating. Here it goes. Looking for port. Oh, whoops. I left the serial monitor open. Let's try that again. Okay. Looking for port. Found it and flashing. 40%. Yeah, there's all different size. I found bigger haptics. Oh well, that worked. I don't know if you heard the beep beep beep. Tap the screen. Okay, it's not gonna. I'm not connected to Wi-Fi, so that's not gonna work. But so the time won't set. But the rest of it's working. Let's see if the IMU works. Well, actually, there's no microphone. That won't work. That was stupid. So, oh, 0. I know it's not calibrated. Could that be why? Yeah, no, it's not reading the IMU. I'm not surprised. I didn't check the BGA on that. There, I'm pretty sure I didn't place it properly when I put it down, but that's okay. I can fix the magnetometer later. But touch works, sound works, the RTC is working. I just haven't set Wi-Fi. Cool. So I think we have I guess a working new revision. So I just need to, I guess, clean it. I can't put the haptics in the cleaner, by the way, obviously. I need to clean it, and then I'll put the microphone on. Actually, before I clean it, I'll fix the magnetometer. And yeah, then I've got to work out a case for it, because it needs quite a bit of so the idea was this would still fit in the same size case as the current one. Here, I was just going to eat in. So these walls on the case are quite thick, so I was eating into the case, right? So the USB will stick out a bit further than that gap, and then I was eating into the case over here to get that over. But I could also make a slightly wider case if I have to. And then the haptic would sit at the back on here somewhere, would stick onto that. That's the plan. I just don't know how yet. It needs quite a bit of work to get all that part together. But yeah, this is, I guess that's a success. So now I need to add some haptics to the firmware, haptic support to the firmware that fails silently. So for hardware that doesn't have the haptics, it'll just ignore it. And for hardware that has the haptics, it'll use the haptics. Like I was really worried about, worried is the wrong word. I was, like I really wanted to see if I could get haptics working with it. I think haptics would be awesome in the watch. But I was really second guessed doing it because it's a hardware revision, and there are people that have already bought the revision, the P4 revision, I guess the release revision of the watch. And I didn't want to make a version of the watch that I release that was going to be, that superseded it already, right? There's absolutely nothing wrong with the first revision watch. The only thing it doesn't have that this has is the haptics. But the haptics is really cool. But there are unknown things. Like again, as Toshipu said, how much battery is it really going to use? I know, but I feel like, I don't know. Like I've deliberately with my, apart from the RF changes, I've deliberately not done design changes on none of my development boards, right? Because I didn't want to supersede boards. I mean, unless I thought, unless there was something really, really important that had to go on, sorry, I feel like, you know, like I've done revisions of the Reflow Master Pro, but no one's lost any functionality by having an older revision. So, you know, if I was to go and stick another auxiliary and another SSR and another whatever on the Reflow Master 2 and call it a V2, then there are people that have got a V1 that have a, you know, functionality that is less than the current version. I don't want to do that to people. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's a toilet flush. Well, it is. It's flushing liquid out of the reservoir. That's exactly what it is. Big toilet flush. So anyway, that's why I've been and ahhing, but I did want to see if I could get Haptics working. So yeah, I'm undecided. I mean, I released the hardware, like the design files for it. That's not a problem if people want to make one. But I don't know if I want to go into production on them. Maybe, maybe not. I don't want to be hand soldering haptic motors on them. I mean, I could ship with a haptic motor. I haven't bought many, but I've got a few. I bought like as many as I could find at the time. All different sizes. Like I got even bigger ones. I wasn't sure if the small ones would work well. Like these ones are even bigger, like almost twice the size. But I would assume that they would take more current. They might be stronger, but they'll take more current. I didn't want to do that either. So, God, look at that. Revision 1, early TinyWATCH prototype. Holy moly. That's not the shipping one. That was the very first one I built. A little bit different. Now let's put it the right way around. Shrunk down a bit. No, soldering the haptic motor on is easy. Like I don't think people will have a problem skill-wise doing that. Look, I can also leave the battery connector off and supply one separately. They're actually not too hard to solder on either. The back pins are easy to solder on. I mean, it's small, and you can get to the front pins, the pads, to solder those with an iron. So, you know, I could do that as well for those that want to just connect a battery directly to the watch and not use the connector. No. It's nothing to do with PWM. It's not connected to an I/O wagon loads. It's all done through the driver chip. It's all done through I2C. Anyway. God, how's that? Big difference. Look at that, RTC's down the bottom. Anyway. But you can't do it anyway. You can't control the motor from an I/O through PWM. Not even through a it's not PWM'd. Anyway, it needs a motor driver. That's what the driver's for. That driver is a specific driver for haptics. I mean, I'm sure you can get something happening with it with PWM through a FET, whatever, but yeah, not the way, not going to help. You're not going to save power. This chip allows you to do that. Okay, well, stream went longer than I thought. 3 hours, but that's okay. We have a win. We have a win. We have haptics. I'll think about what I'm going to do production-wise. I need to make a case first. The important thing is, can I make a case? I'm sure I can, but how much trial and error? Making a case for this, will the cutout notch allow me to make a case that can have a screw that holds it together? To keep the case together, and yeah. And obviously, when I get my milling machine, at some stage, I'd like to mill a metal case, an aluminium case for it. That wasn't why I got it, although that's a bonus. And I'm sure I'm going to be, even if I had a fully working mill here today, I'd be months away from having the skills to be able to mill anything resembling a watch case. But, got to start somewhere. So I'll keep everyone posted on the case progress. I'll post stuff on Discord. And, yeah. Happy to hear your thoughts, comments. I'm not going to see the chat afterwards. Maybe like whatever. But if you want to leave a comment on the stream, what your thoughts are to do with releasing a new version with haptics or keeping the current version without haptics. You know, What are your thoughts on having the revision 1 superseded already? Does the display ribbon still have the weird bend? Yes, there's no way around that. The only way to get around that weird bend is to put the connector here. And that means no electronics here. So I just can't do it. Like there's, has to have that weird bend. It's silly that it's this big, this long. The only other way would be to have the connector on the back of the PCB, so double-sided PCB, where it wraps around to the back, but then you need a gap between the screen and the electronics, which means you then lose 5mm in thickness for that gap to do that. Don't lock yourself in too early in the process. What do you mean don't lock myself? People who bought it, including me, knew it was a super early test. Oh, right, okay. Well, I kept all the rest of the functionality right. I mean, the functionality on the watch, on the revision 1 is great. As I said, everything works on the watch. Right, you got audio out, you got microphone in, you got 9-axis IMU, you got a fuel gauge for the battery, you've got battery charging works, it's low power, well, with software tweaks to extend it. Like, everything works really well. But the screen's great, performant. But haptics, like for me, haptics is a game changer. Like in terms of the use of my watch. Like everything I do with my watch is haptics based, right? The good news is I haven't sold that many watches, to be honest. Like, and I was never expecting to sell a lot because it's not really a watch yet, right? Like it's early. Like it's not like I'm shipping a fully usable daily driver watch. That's not what it is. So, I think I've sold 40 watches. It's not huge. Can you make the ribbon fold closer to the PCB and shift the display closer to the logo? No. No. Think about what you just asked. How do I get the connector closer to the logo? What happens to all the electronics if I do that? Where does the electronics go? If I move it to the middle of the board, all that electronics, everything here up until the middle of the board has to go where? It's got to go somewhere. Where will be placed the motor? That will be up to you. I mean, it'll be on the back of it'll be behind. I don't know, like, be interesting. Like maybe I need to flip them around so the sticky stuff, we don't want this stuck to the PCB. I don't think we want the PCB vibrating. Although I guess that could be twisted. But yeah, the idea is that'll get stuck to the back of the case. It's a watch to, it is, but at this stage, it's, I mean, other than it doesn't have fancy, polished retail firmware, functionality wise it's as good as pretty much any other watch on the market. It's better than any other watch on, I think, better than any other ESP32 watch on the market. I mean the Liligo watch is nice, it's got LoRa. What do you need LoRa on your watch for? Seriously. I mean LoRa's cool, but on your watch, yeah. Can the display ribbon be soldered instead of using a socket? No. And they don't make this display with a solderable ribbon. Just fold the ribbon at a different point without moving anything. Wait, you just said, can you make the ribbon fold closer to the PCB and shift the display? Oh, shift the display closer. I don't understand how... What do you mean by fold at a different point? There's only one place it can fold. It's got to fold around the screen to get to the other side. And where else is it going to fold? Like that, this is the only fold that it can do to fit. How else is it going to fold? It's got to connect in to the bottom. You have to go back to the start. Sorry. I showed all the UI stuff, like where it's up to at the moment at the start of the, or near the start of the stream. Sorry, Sasha. Yeah. I went through the app stuff and whatever else. It's still early, but yeah. Yeah, I know that. Sorry, John. 100%. I didn't feel like you were putting it down. No, I'm just saying, like, it's a hardware-wise, like it ticks every box for everything that I would use on a watch. And you know, I use my watch more than I use my phone. Like, I've got an iPad that I read on, and that's pretty much it. And I take calls on my phone. I don't spend any time on my phone. And you know, I read messages and I reply to messages on my watch most of the time, and whatever. Like, I guess that's the only thing that would be really nice, which is not a hardware limitation, it's an ecosystem limitation, is push notifications. Does someone want to write push notifications? Yes, it's fully open source. Lost the browser. Where's my browser? Hang on. There's the URL. Fully open source. Just check the licensing, because it's fully open source, but it's there are open source licenses. CERN for the hardware, and GPL3 for the software. Will the new watch be called Tiny Bit Bigger Tiny Watch? Well, it's not really bigger. It's the same size. It should be called the Tiny Bit Better Tiny Watch, maybe. Move socket further down the PCB, ribbon would go over the processor. No, absolutely not, Stephen. Firstly, it can't go over. The only way to get it over the processor is to have all this electronics back here, and you can't have high-speed ribbon cables sitting over all of this stuff. I mean, you want to have it over the S3 processor, sure, you'll lose Wi-Fi, you'll lose Bluetooth, you'll get interference on the screen and on your touch. Yeah, no. It's there because it's the only place it can be. Like, I mean, if you want to redesign it and move it somewhere else and then somehow work out how you're going to get an 80 megahertz SPI bus to not interfere with all of the board, go for it. But, yeah. There's a specific reason why it is the way it is. I would love for this ribbon to not have to bunch up at the end like this. I would love it. Right? This is a design flaw of the watch, of the screen, in my opinion. Like the screen, like this bulky part here on the screen is crazy.
Says, and what micro are you using in it?
It's an SP32S3. It's a Pico. So it's got 8 mega flash and 2 mega PS RAM built into the chip. So I don't need external flash or external PS RAM, which saves a stack of space. This bulky bit here, which is less flexible than the cable, it's got like, you know, it's got more of the rigid flex. That is just crazy. And to have a big ass chip sitting right there is a really bad, silly place for it. And then having this long cable, but there's no other, I mean, I can get shorter cable versions, but they're not cap touch. And not having cap touch is like ridiculous. It's got to be cap touch. I don't know. You get a lot of flexibility by having flash on the outside. No, you can't shorten the ribbon because the ribbon is it's a pre-made. Oh. It's not a hand solderable ribbon. You can't hand solder this, therefore you can't shorten it, right? Because it's exposed there with, like this is not a hand solderable ribbon. Can't be shortened. It's just not a great, like, if you look, and if you look where this would go, there's not enough room to stick all the electronics here. Like it's got to go in the middle of the board almost, right? And not only that, but you still have this, look, it's still bulky because it's not fully flexed, it's rigid. So it doesn't sit flat and you've got this chip in the way. So this would have to bulk up. I really don't want to wreck the screen, but what can I use? Like this would have to bulk up and go over the electronics. Like it just won't work. So the way this works right here is all there is. Now, if I could get the adapter a bit further away, maybe this wouldn't sit up that much, but we're talking about 6-7 millimeters. I don't have 6-7 millimeters. Like this is not a component size issue. Like the board, so a lot of people look at a board and they'll go, oh, look at all that space. You could bunch all that stuff together. You could get all that stuff closer together. And I say, no, you can't get it closer together at all. Because you're assuming that you don't need any routing between everything. Like this space here is not because I want the parts to breathe. It's because I need to route signals, right? And if you think the answer is go to an 8-layer board and microvias, sure, if I want the PCBs to cost $50 each just for the PCB, right? It's not Apple, right? I'm not making 1 million, 5 million, 100 million of them. So at the end of the day, the only way I could get everything closer together and make more space is to go microvias, buried vias, have all of the routing on the inner layers only, not on the top layer. No routing on the top layer. And firstly, no one's going to be able to assemble them or build them themselves. What's the point of releasing an open source watch that no one can manufacture? And you also can't debug it. Like, yeah, there are limitations to what you can do in terms of spacing. You know, going from 0402 to 0201 components aren't going to help because they're not, the components might be smaller, but the pad sizes, the component sizes are only like 2/3. They're not half. And that 2/3 might save a little bit of space, but it doesn't save any space on routing. Right? You still got limitations on minimum trace width, minimum trace distance and stuff. That's very funny, life in cycling. But it's true, absolutely not viable. This is a problem with off-the-shelf parts over custom design. Absolutely. You look at the screens that Apple use, and they don't have a big connector like this. They've got 2 or 3 connectors that come off their screen in the perfect opportune places that they want them. Like they'll have a small connector coming off the side here, and they'll have another connector coming with a twist over here. Right? Their whole screens and their cables and their cable management is designed specifically about their design. Right? They don't go, how do we fit the PCB to match this off-the-shelf screen? They go, let's build a screen that has this exact ribbon configuration that matches our totally custom battery shape, that matches our totally custom PCB shape, that happens to be 8 layers and 0.6 millimeters thick with micro buried vias and, you know, like tolerances that JLC won't. I mean, you know what I mean? Like it's crazy. Absolutely. Now, interestingly, I've got other connectors. I wanted to move to a new connector. Oh my God, how long have I been streaming for now? Over 3 hours, sorry. I've been looking at new connectors. So, for one of my projects that I can't show you right now. Wait, what? Hang on. Go away. How many pins is that? 8 pins. No. How many pins is that? 18. Right. I don't really like these connectors, by the way. I have to say, I don't like the plastic push under. They can break, and I'm not a huge fan of them. For a different project, I found a different type of connector, which I much prefer. But I hadn't used them before, I used them and I like them now. And so I looked for an 18-pin version of that. And I found one, and it's actually a smaller connector than this is. But it's a huge change to move to it. And I've already invested in a reel of these ones. But it's this connector here. So I haven't tried it yet. It's tiny. If you look at that. They're also triple the price. But if you look at, let's go look at under the microscope. I'm just going to unplug this. Pull that out, pull it out. Okay. These are really cool connectors. Can I fit them both on? Not easily. So, if I turn that around, look how small that connector is. And it doesn't use this, it's a clamshell. So you fold this down, I'm going to break it, to lock. Do you see that? So the cable goes in this way and then it locks in place. So it's a lever and it's tiny. Now the problem is, if I just undo this, I hate these things. Okay, the problem is the length of this cable is still really long. So even though this is a tiny connector, what happens is, it's also double-sided, top and bottom, which is just awesome. The problem with this is, you put it in, it only goes in that far, right? And then you lock it. Come on. Right, and that's in, like that's not coming out. That's great. But you see this, I've still got all that same space. So even though I could go a small connector, what would happen is the connector would sit here and I still lose all this space anyway. Right? I don't gain anything by going to this connector. On the width, on the sides, I've got more space, which is nice. And it's just a much smaller part, nicer part to work with, I think. Like, I've sat and plugged quite a few of these in. Haven't really sat and plugged many of these in yet. But as I said, they're really expensive connectors comparatively. They're almost 4 times the price of the connector. But I think I'm gonna standardize on using this type of connector from now on. So I might still do that change on this board for when I go into production, now that I've got one of these connectors to check it. I mean, I could probably take this off and just stick this on, but what I don't have is the soldering to hold these sides on, so I reckon I'll rip it off. When I try to use it, it's only going to have the pins. As you can see, the side bits of solder here aren't close enough for it. Anyway, I was just waffling a bit there, but I really like those connectors. Oh, that wasn't even in focus. Sorry, folks. This is what I have on the back panel of my bamboo. Don't ask me how I know. Okay, I won't ask you how I know. Oh, the closing style is very common, but these are really ultra slimline. Like you can get, I've got that closing style in lots of bigger ones as well. These are tiny. Catch you later, Dave. No worries, mate. Catch you later. Have a good sleep. Fold the ribbon at 45-degree angle. No. It's not long enough to do 45 degrees, and you're just going to wreck the cable. They're not designed to fold like that. How do you have to do 2 45s to get 90? Like, I can't put the connector at 45 degrees. That takes up twice as much space, 4 times as much space on the board. And getting it sideways won't help. I can't have the cable going over the components. It needs to be clear. It's 80 megahertz. Like, it's just, yeah. There's no other layout. I'm telling you, there's no other layout. It would need a. It's not. It doesn't need a hardware like a PCB redesign layout. It needs a different screen with a different ribbon. That's the solution. Not rearranging the hardware, because that won't help. I'm limited by the laws of physics and the laws of this is the screen, this is the cable, that's the cable. That's what I've got to work with. Oh, way too many. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's nothing identifiable on this screen as to who makes it, by the way. Nothing. So yeah, I've actually tried to find the manufacturer of these, and so I could buy direct, and I can't. And of course, none of the people that you can buy from will offer up anything. The display connector go on the back side of the USB connector. How can it go on the... Why do you keep asking? No, it can't go on the back of the USB connector, because that's not where the ribbon comes in from. Wagon loads, where the connector is the only place it can go. I don't know how clear I can be, how much clearer I can be on that. It's not because Xeon says so, it's because it's the only place it can go. Detachable USB-C display. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the connector size for the USB-C connector would be too big. Wireless display. Yeah. I promise you, wagon loads, I promise you, you're wasting your brain cells trying to find of something alternate to this, right? If I've got a watch, if I've got a watch and a PCB like this, which is the only way to get minimal space, then my only option is that. No other direction, can't go under the USB, I can't reach the USB, and it can't go under the USB this way because it blocks the USB, and it can't go under the USB this way, and it can't go under because how do I get it under? The screen is there. Where under the USB? The only way I can do it anything under is to add stacks of height to have space to get it in, and it's not under, and I still have the problem where I've got 80 megahertz signal interfering with the thing, so it needs a bigger air gap. So all of a sudden my watch is twice as thick because I still need to get the battery on top. All of a sudden I've wasted what, 3 millimeters extra of height, or 4, just to get the connector on the bottom, which helps me how? Like, how's that helping me? But everything, it's not a matter of violating the rules. What are you trying to solve? You're trying to solve the folded ribbon for what reason? How is the folded ribbon affecting you? What is not having the fold there going to give you, do you think, that we don't have already? It's not interfering with the battery. Like, the issue for the battery is the space between the USB connector and the battery connector. That ribbon is not an issue for the battery. So what is the folded ribbon? Why is that causing you grief? It's not causing me grief. I mean, as I said, it'd be nice if there was no fold there, but it's out of the way. It's out of the way. Like, you know, a battery sits here. It's out of the way for anything. The issue with the battery is it can't fit between the USB connector and the battery connector. Yeah, no, putting the battery between the screen and the PCB is not the right way to go. Well, how would you get the battery out? How would you... Yeah. you'd need the watch to be massive, because then how are you going to, where's the USB going to stick out the bottom? It's going to hang off outside the bottom of the case. When it delaminates. I guess where the fold is now is solved by using the same space for the battery. But again, what grief is the fold causing you that you seem to want to fix it? It's like fixing a problem that doesn't exist. Like, yeah, that's what I don't understand. Like, I don't understand what you're trying to solve by getting rid of the fold. Is the fold within the bend radius of the rip? I don't know what that means. The fold is in the flex section, the non-rigid flex section. It's the only place it can fold. Like, you got this first fold, which is flex. This section here, the big section, is rigid flex. You can look at the back. You see it looks different? That's rigid. This can't bend. Okay? So that has to sit flat. So then the only place left to fold is, and this end bit is rigid. So the only place it can bend is this section here. This has to bend under. This doesn't even have space to bend up and around. Do you understand? I can't stick, even if I put this PCB here, I can't do that. This can't bend around the PCB. Look, it's rigid. I can't do that. If I bend this now, I'm going to snap this. Like, I'll completely destroy the thing. Okay? So, it can't go around anything. It's got to bend, it's designed to bend exactly like that. The only place that it can bend is right on the edge there. That's it. So, what I've done is the only solution for this screen. No, that's not true. I can make a watch that's this big. Not the screen, forget the screen, but the watch is this big, so the screen can go anywhere and have lots of place to put the flex, right? You know, it'll be a big chunky black thing on my arm with a little tiny screen in the middle of it, of this big thing, so I don't have to bend the thing, right? Spec bending radius. Yeah, I don't, the fold within the bend. Yeah, I don't understand what, is the fold within the bend radius? What, I don't know what you mean by bend radius. Spec bending radius. What is spec bending radius? Catch you later, Dave. Have a good sleep. No, I'm not taking it the wrong way. I'm trying to understand why you're even suggesting anything. There's no other layout this can use. There's no other place I can put the connector. There's no other place the ribbon can get to. There's no other place. There's no other alternatives with this screen that would allow me to build a watch this size. That's it. It's the laws of physics. This is it. This is the only way to get a watch this size that's and this is already thicker than I want. That's that thin. That's thicker than I want. But a watch this size, the only way is the way I've done it. Anything else means 5 or 6 more millimeters high, which would look ridiculous, or 5 to 10 more millimeters width. Otherwise, it can't happen. It's physically impossible. Have I broken any? I have actually. I've broken, the I2C touch chip on some of them have died. Well, not it'll work in some directions and it won't work in others. So clearly a trace is disconnected or something. They're not designed to be open and closed, played with, not played with. You know what I mean? They're designed to go in a watch and stay in a watch. But if you're careful, you know, they can survive. You just got to be careful. It's safe to assume we don't have exact mechanical specs when we can't locate the manufacturer. Well, there's no bend specs, whatever they are. I don't know if it's designed to have a fold in it or not. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it's designed to have a double layer PCB, a connector PCB, and whatever. So people, I don't believe people are using a watch like this, a screen like this, and then just off-the-shelf parts to make a watch, to put it together, that can be configured in any other way. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not saying it's by design. Hey, Alan, how you doing? I was thinking about you this morning. I was going to give you a buzz later today. The cable will crack or fall or fail if the bend rate is out of spec. Well, this can't bend any other way, so that has to be the right. It can't wrap around anything. So, and then the other bit, well, it's just flex. I don't know where they're making it, but the flex is. I've had none fail because of the bend I'm doing. Right. I mean, I've disconnected, reconnected, pulled them out of a case, in and out, in and out, in and out of a case. Oh, I wrecked that screen. Right, but not because of the bend. I mean, I wish I had more choice. I don't wish that there was a solderable screen. I don't know. I don't want to be standing there soldering ribbon cables onto the back of PCs, especially when they can't be cleaned. So you end up with flux and gunk on them. And there's more chance that people will wreck the ribbon by having it soldered onto the PCB when they're handling the PCB and screen separately. At least this way you can pull them apart. But even with a solderable one will be more of a problem. I'll have less space to work, and it would need a much wider connector. So, like, these are 0.5 millimeters. You don't get solderable 0.5. They're all 1 millimeter pitch, which means the ribbon will be twice as wide. So it'll take up way more space on the board. So I've also got that to consider. Catch you later, and better hobbyist. Okay, I think unless anyone's got any other questions on it. So I didn't mean to, I don't mean to be argumentative about the screen. There is no other place I can put the ribbon cable and the connector without compromising this much or this much of the design and functionality. It's just the way it is. Making the PCB smaller so it's further away, which is I've done the best I can. Wrong direction. You'll notice that I've been making the PCB shorter. The shorter I make it, the further away the connector is, right? But I still can't get it that far. That's too far. But, if you look at where I started and where it is now, I can't line them up, whatever, in terms of the height of the PCB, but I really can't squish the PCB anymore. At some stage, I can't have a button sitting on the USB connector, right? And I can't have a button that you can't push because it's so close to the USB connector you can't get your finger in there. All wire and cabling has been some. Yeah, sure. I understand. I just didn't understand what the term was that Embedded Hobbyist was using. But right, okay. I don't know what those specs are. I couldn't tell you anything about the ribbon cable or construction because I don't know where it's manufactured. All I know is I've not ripped or damaged a connector folding it to date. I've not lost any traces of, it's not snapped, it's not torn, whatever. But I'm sure if I sat here going back and forwards on them, you know, pull it, bend it, eventually I will. Is that a screen that uses zebra strips? What? What are zebra strips? What? I mean, if I didn't add the haptics, I could have made the board shorter. The haptics is taking up, you know, quite a bit of space for what it is. If it doesn't feel like it's being forced and hasn't failed in golden, sure. Well, I can't control what other people do once they get it though, right? The rubbery things like in a DMM. What? What rubbery things? If they would have, I'm not letting this go. If they would have put the connector right at the end, so if they would have put this bit here, yeah, right here. So as soon as it comes off from the rigid, if that was the connector there, not there, then I could do something like where I push, so the PCB could be pushed up under this way a little bit. And if you look, that would fit. Oh my God. That could almost fit. See, if the connector was right at the end, that would work without a fold. Right? That's something I could do. But I can't get the connector all the way up there. Like, to get the connector to there, the connector would be sitting up to here inside the S3. Just, it can't happen. Okay, that's it. I am going to go make another coffee, and I'm going to build myself some of these. I got the paste out anyway. Might as well do it. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for sticking around. I'm glad we got some hardware built and it worked. I'll keep you all posted on what I'm thinking, whatever. Yeah. Okay. Stop talking now. Bye everyone. And again, thank you to all of you that are here that have been contributing to the firmware. If anyone else wants to jump in and contribute to the firmware, it is possible to do without having a watch. Life in Cycling is doing that. He configured a TinyWATCH-S3 and a whole bunch of hardware on either breadboard or prototype board or something, and he's been working that way. But, oh no! Iggy! My cat just did the telefaces thing. I need to go. Oh, yuck. Okay. Okay. Good to see you, Iggy. Yeah, so it is possible to contribute without a watch, but it's hard. But yeah, if anyone wants to contribute, yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, there's never an end in reconfiguring a PCB, Wagon Loads. I've learned that lesson. You can always think of other things you can tweak and change. It's never ending. So at some point you got to say, that's it, turn off. Anyway, yeah, yuck, Iggy, stop. Oh, I had cats, I had 2 cats. I know exactly what you're talking about. Don't. You're making me feel ill now. Bye everyone. Catch you all next week. Cheers.